Good, happy Monday morning, February 10, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Monday morning, so let's begin. First up, authorities responding to suspicious death in Stratham. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Tim Callery.
And we're actually here today to officially launch our campaign to win the great state of New Hampshire in 2020. The best is yet to come.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
Well, Tom and Jen, we know the suspicious death involves an adult female. Her name and age have not been released at this time. If you look over my shoulder here, you can actually see a state police cruiser standing right out front of the entrance of the Timberland property. Now, this incident had a response from the Seacoast response team was activated for this incident, bringing in police departments from several surrounding towns, including the state police. A spokesperson for the company tells us they are aware of an incident and are working to gather more information. Now, the Attorney General's office is pretty tight-lipped tonight as to what information it is releasing. Officials there only saying this investigation remains active and ongoing.
There's no reason to believe that there's any threat to the general public, though, based on the investigation conducted to date. Again, to the extent we can share some information later on, we certainly will do that, and that would include any autopsy results.
Now, that autopsy will likely happen sometime tomorrow morning. The AG's office would not confirm tonight if anyone has been arrested. Live here in Stratham, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Three injured in shooting in downtown Henniker. 2 New England College students among victims. Injuries are not life-threatening. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
To officially launch our campaign to win the great state of New Hampshire in 2020. The best is yet to come.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. And we do begin at 5 with breaking news in Henniker, where classes at New England College have been canceled for tomorrow after 3 people were shot early this morning.
2 of the victims are students at New England College, and all have been treated and released. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Vaughn.
And I'm Tom Griffith. Right now, the search is still on for a suspect, but all 3 victims are expected to be okay. The 911 call came in around 3 o'clock this morning. State and Henniker police arrived on scene and found those victims on Bridge Street. They were taken to Concord Hospital, where they were treated and released this afternoon. Their identities have not been released, but 2 of the victims are current students at New England College. The shooting happened near the college campus, giving students quite the scare.
I looked out my window and I see everybody just running, so many people, and they were just screaming bloody murder, and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Just sounded like a bunch of people left a party, and I mean, just maybe a little bit louder, and they were just spreading out everywhere.
And right now, police are not releasing any information regarding a possible suspect or suspect.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Presidential candidates hope for strong showing in New Hampshire primary. Candidates reach out to undecided voters as primary nears. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Mike Cherry.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
Making a pitch to undecided Granite State voters, Democratic candidates stopped by the WMUR studios this morning.
What are realistic expectations for you on the primary?
I think I'd like to finish in the top 3 or 4. I think that would be great for me. Any kind of unexpected finish would be good. I've loved being here. I've been here more than any other candidate. Yesterday I finished my 50th town hall.
I'm the only one in the race who has delivered on sentencing reform, who's delivered on terrific schools for our kids, including closing achievement gaps. I'm the only one in the race who's actually grown jobs, 25%, 25-year employment high coming out of recessions.
We have got to focus as primary voters and as a party in choosing a candidate who first and foremost can beat Donald Trump and can take him down on the economy, which I can do because I have a 30-year history in the private sector of figuring out what creates growth.
In Claremont, Andrew Yang explained why the current tax laws have had an adverse effect on local businesses.
How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year? 0. That is the math, Claremont. 20 billion out. 30% of stores closed.
Back in our studios, Representative Tulsi Gabbard expressed her displeasure with the DNC following the caucus debacle in Iowa.
Ultimately, this is a failure of leadership, and I think the DNC chair, Tom Perez, should resign. It's both because of what we've seen happen in Iowa, but also over the last several months, the growing skepticism that I hear from Democrat voters.
Mike Cherry, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Several candidates reached out to New Hampshire voters on Close Up yesterday. Presidential candidates hope to sway undecided voters in final days before primary. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
On this final Sunday before the first-in-the-nation vote, 9 presidential candidates stopped by WMUR in the 10 a.m. hour for a live edition of Close Up. So many that they were running into each other in the hallways and sharing a few laughs.
Get out of here.
Pete Buttigieg says he's eager to see how his campaign ground game will perform on Tuesday.
We had our first test of it in Iowa. Now New Hampshire is a huge test of it.
It's a tall order for Buttigieg or anyone else to challenge Bernie Sanders, who won here in 2016, but is taking nothing for granted.
Whatever happened in 2016 is not relevant to 2020.
Amy Klobuchar is riding high after a strong debate performance she knows the Granite State was watching.
New Hampshire focuses on all the details about the candidates.
There are neighboring state candidates aplenty vying for votes down the homestretch, including 2 former Massachusetts governors. On the Republican side, Bill Weld. For the Democrats, Deval Patrick.
I think New Hampshire has been great.
It's crunch time for the New Hampshire primary. I think it's fair to say it's also crunch time for the country.
Elizabeth Warren is trying to go wire to wire, running on big structural change in Washington.
We got a chance to turn that around in 2020.
Michael Bennet and Tulsi Gabbard have both focused heavily on the Granite State.
We're making the case, continuing to reach out to all New Hampshire voters.
I think we're going to surprise some people on Tuesday, and it's been such a privilege for me and my family to spend the time that we've spent in New Hampshire. We've loved it.
Tom Steyer is betting big on mail and TV ads here in New Hampshire, but he says he's not looking past the first-in-the-nation primary.
Look, New Hampshire is the first primary in the country. Of course it's important to our campaign.
Now, Tom Steyer tells us he's focused on New Hampshire, but he's taking a bit of a different approach than the rest of the field right now. He left the state today to campaign in South Carolina. In the studio, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Sanders holds rallies in Portsmouth and Keene. Democratic presidential candidate criticized opponents for taking money from billionaires. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
With less than 48 hours to go until Tuesday's primary, Sanders held a standing room only event here at Keene State College as he looks to recreate his winning campaign from 2016.
This is, as I understand it, the largest turnout in New Hampshire in this election cycle. 2,000 people. Thank you.
Sanders repeated his plans for Medicare for all, free college, and fighting climate change. It's a consistent message that supporters say they can get behind.
The fact that he's been holding on to his values for like some of them decades now instead of just stuff that he cooked up since the presidential race started.
But tonight wasn't just about diehard supporters. Many attended hoping to hear something that could solidify their choice Tuesday.
I'm looking for somebody who I feel is sincere, honest, and is going to probably at least do what they say they're going to do.
If young people, who are today, in my view, the most progressive generation in the history of this country, if they get involved in the political process, if they come out to vote in large numbers, there is no stopping our movement.
Reporting in Keene, Mike Cherry, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Buttigieg urges voters to ignore attack ads. Democratic presidential candidate rallies support ahead of primary. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
Pete Buttigieg clearly came into his rally here at Salem High School, watching the clock count down to the primary.
As we come within about 48 hours of the polls closing, and a historic night in our country and in New Hampshire.
Buttigieg took a swipe at his top Iowa rival when he told the crowd not to let the race for president divide the nation more.
I respect Senator Sanders, but at a moment like this, when the message goes out that you're either for a revolution or you must be for the status quo, most of us don't know where we fit and would rather be part of a movement that makes room for all of us.
He discounted attacks on his age or former job as mayor, saying his experience brings him to this point.
My belief in American unity comes from the experience of lacing up my boots next to people totally different from me, thousands of miles from home, and learning to trust each other with our lives.
Monday, he starts his day in a college town at Plymouth State University before rallies in Milford and Exeter. In Salem, Gene Mackin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Warner rallies supporters as New Hampshire primary nears. Democratic presidential candidate hopes to improve on Iowa results. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
Elizabeth Warren has a lot riding on New Hampshire. She's campaigned extensively here over the last year, and she needs a strong finish, if not an outright victory, to help get her campaign back on the upswing. Wrapping up a grueling campaign weekend in the Upper Valley, Elizabeth Warren told voters she's taken on the best and brightest of a lot of her former competitors in the 2020 primary.
When other people dropped out of this race, I already talked to them and pulled their ideas, some of their campaign staffers, and ultimately a lot of their volunteers into my campaign.
But now there are questions about just how long the Massachusetts senator will be able to hold out if she doesn't win over voters here in New Hampshire. In a news conference in Concord, she told reporters she's in this race to go the distance.
It looks like it is going to be a long battle to the nomination. We have already built out offices and have on-the-ground troops in 30 states.
Warren will wrap up her First in the Nation campaign on Monday with a Get Out the Vote event in Rochester and a town hall in Portsmouth. In the studio, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Cullen-Belcher sensing momentum makes emotional plea for supporters in Manchester. Minnesota Senator gets bump in polling after strong debate performance. Promise to restore secured trust. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
Klobuchar says they are capitalizing on this momentum with a record crowd here in Nashua. Coming off of what many considered a strong performance on Friday night's debate stage, Senator Amy Klobuchar told News 9 in a one-on-one interview she is unifying people on the campaign trail.
People had watched the debate or talked to their friends who had watched the debate, and the word's getting out that I'm the candidate that can bring people with me instead of shutting them out, that I've won in areas that are very similar to New Hampshire, rural areas, red Republican voters, independent voters.
There were independent voters who packed into a crowd of more than 1,100 in the gym at Fairgrounds Middle School, hoping to come away with a decision.
So I'm looking for someone in the middle lane, and she seems to be that way. I think she can win in the Midwest, and has.
Since Friday night, her campaign has raised $3 million.
New Hampshire is making a decision, and I am making the case to decide on me.
And Klobuchar has multiple Get Out the Vote events planned for tomorrow across the state ahead of the First in the Nation primary on Tuesday. In Nashua, I'm Charisse LeClaire, WMUR News 9.
Okay, there you go on that video and that report. Biden talks experience to New Hampshire voters. Former Vice President rallies support before voters head to the polls on Tuesday. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Monica Hernandez.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
In front of hundreds here at Alvern High School's gym, Joe Biden talked about climate change, immigration, gun control, and at one point got emotional.
One of the reasons why I feel so strongly about protecting and expanding Obamacare is because I've watched my own family how it works.
Joe Biden on the cancer that took his son Beau's life. He took questions from the crowd.
I don't
concerned about the amount of plastic being used.
That's why the single most important thing we have to do is deal with the thing called climate change. It's the single most important issue facing the United States of America.
One thing Biden didn't do was take swings at any of the other Democratic contenders, a key theme of his campaign just one day before, focusing instead on President Donald Trump.
Is cutting SNAP food stamps. What in God's name is happening to us? This is the United States of America, and it makes me angry. I think I'm in pretty good shape, and I know I can take Trump physically and mentally.
Biden will hold a campaign event tomorrow in Manchester. In Hudson, Monica Hernandez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. President Trump rally scheduled for Monday night, tonight, in Manchester. Road closures start right at 7 a.m. today. Trump supporters lining up at SNHU Arena 24 hours before the rally. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
We started this campaign because the old style of politics is broken. Our challenges require a new generation of solutions. We are ready for a politics of belonging, boldness, action. Let's turn the page.
We're from Massachusetts, and we don't get an opportunity to see President Trump very often. You know, he's doing a lot for our country, and, you know, we're here with everybody basically becoming family here, and, you know, that's how America is.
Tonight, supporters of President Trump from throughout the Northeast are converging on Manchester ahead of tomorrow's rally. Many camping out in front of SNHU Arena.
President Trump is someone that we want to back and show our support in any way possible. And if that means standing out here in the freezing cold for 2 days, we'll do it.
His last Manchester rally filled the arena with 11,000 fans and had thousands of his supporters watching the event on video screens outside. President Trump lost the 2016 general election vote in New Hampshire to Hillary Clinton by less than 2,800 votes. The Trump campaign thinks it can swing to them in November.
We're looking forward to more engagement. We're looking forward to people looking at the kitchen table economics and the successes, like I said, of this administration. And I think New Hampshire will be a check mark in the Trump column.
Now, because of the president's rally, streets around the arena will be shut down. The first closures begin at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Vice President Pence will be there as well after an afternoon rally in Portsmouth.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Road closures planned in Portsmouth for visit from Mike Pence. Vice President visiting Portsmouth on eve of primary election. Portsmouth police have announced a series of road closures in the area of the Sheraton Portsmouth Harbor Side Hotel for a visit from Vice President Mike Pence on Monday. See information from Portsmouth Police about the road closures below. Let's take a look at those closures. One, no parking on Market Street, either side between Deer Street and Russell Street. 2, no parking on Russell Street, either side from Deer Street to Market Street. There will be limited parking on Deer Street. 4, Market Street between Deer Street and Russell Street will be closed to both vehicle and pedestrian traffic from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Isle of Shoals parking lot will be closed during these hours. Those holding parking passes for that lot are welcome to park at the Foundry parking garage on Bridge Street at no charge. Please display your parking tag. Portsmouth Public Workers and the Parking Division will be using signboards and other visible no parking notices in applicable areas to notify the public of parking restrictions. The traffic impact of this event are expected to be from Monday morning until 4 p.m. Motorists are encouraged to seek alternative routes. And Mike Pence will be landing at Pease Air Base around 1 p.m. in the afternoon. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire primary candidate tracker for Monday, February 10th. And we have a big list of candidates that are in New Hampshire today. The first candidate we're talking about, Michael Bennett. He has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, New Loudon Meet and Greet, 9 a.m. at 12 Lovering Lane, New Loudon, New Hampshire. His second event, Manchester Town Hall at 3 p.m. Franklin Pierce, 670 North Commercial Street. Joe Biden has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Guilford Get Out the Vote at 11:30 a.m. at Guilford Community Church, 19 Porter Hill Road. His second event, Manchester Get Out the Vote event at 5:45 p.m. at 650 Hanover Street, Manchester, New Hampshire. Pete Buttigieg has a bunch of events today in New Hampshire. First event, Plymouth State Meet Pete, 10 o'clock a.m. at 14 Miller Street, Portsmouth, Plymouth, New Hampshire. Sorry about that. Plymouth, New Hampshire. 2. Get Out the Vote Rally, 5:30 p.m. at 50 Emerson Road, Milford, New Hampshire. And his third event will be Get Out the Vote Rally at 8 p.m. at 1 Blue Hawk Drive, Exeter, New Hampshire. Tulsi Gabbard has 1 event today in New Hampshire, Manchester Town Hall at 6 p.m. at the Rex Theatre at 23 Amherst Street. Amy Cullen-Bulcher has 4 events today in New Hampshire. Her first event, Get Out the Vote event, 9 a.m., location to be determined. Her second event, Nashua Rotary Club, 12 p.m. at 25 Fairway Street. Third event, Exeter Get Out the Vote event, 2:30 p.m. at 10 Front Street. And her fourth event, Rochester Get Out the Vote event, at 7 p.m. at 94 Eastern Avenue. Bernie Sanders has 3 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Rindge Town Hall, 12 p.m. at 40 University Drive, Rindge. His second event, Canvas Launch, 3 p.m. at 77 Derry Street, Hudson, New Hampshire. And his third event, Bernie Concert Rally with the Stokes, 7:30 p.m. at Whittemore Arena in UNH, Durham. Deval Patrick has 2 events today in New Hampshire. His first event, Sexual and Domestic Violence Forum, 10 o'clock a.m. at 100 North Main Street, Concord, New Hampshire. His second event, Conversation at the Bookery, 3:30 p.m. at 844 Elm Street, Manchester, New Hampshire. Elizabeth Warren has 2 events today in New Hampshire. Her first event, Rochester Get Out the Vote event at 2:15 p.m., 31 Wakefield Street. Her second event, Portsmouth Town Hall at 5:45 p.m. at 292 State Street. Andrew Yang has a bunch of events today in New Hampshire. First event, Rochester Town Hall at 9:30 a.m. at 32 North Main Street. His second event, Concord Town Hall at 12 p.m. at 11 South Main Street. His third event, Portsmouth Town Hall at 2:30 p.m. at 64 Market Street. His fourth event, Manchester Town Hall at 6 p.m. 150 Ash Street. His fifth event, Derry Primary Eve Rally, 8 p.m. Tupelo Music Hall in Derry, New Hampshire. And his sixth event, Keene Sea Rally, 10 p.m. at Maple Brown Room, 83 Blake Street. And President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence They both have events today in New Hampshire. Both of them will be at the evening rally at SNHU Arena. Details to be announced. And then Pence will have multiple campaign stops in New Hampshire earlier in the day. Details to be announced. And we know one of his stops are in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And that is a look at your candidate tracker for today. U.S. features point to cautious open as investors monitor coronavirus. U.S. stock index features were muted Monday morning as investors assess the impact of the coronavirus outbreak in China. Coronavirus outbreak worsens with 812 fatalities. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
The alarming new headline as the coronavirus outbreak worsens. Health officials now confirming more than 800 fatalities, surpassing the total death toll in the entire SARS pandemic. At the same time, another jump in confirmed cases on that cruise ship off Japan we've been telling you about. Now some 70 cases on that ship, including at least a dozen Americans. The ship's still under quarantine tonight, and ABC's Maggie Rulli is there in Yokohama.
Tonight, the novel coronavirus spreading among the thousands of passengers quarantined aboard the Diamond Princess in Yokohama. 6 more cases confirmed today, bringing the total number of passengers infected to 70, including at least 12 Americans. Milena Basso and Guy Cerullo celebrating their honeymoon on the cruise, quarantined in their room.
Just imagine like a knot in your stomach all day, every day.
How is your mental health? How's your head doing?
Our heart's like beating so fast, and like when we take our temperature, we're like panicking. And luckily, it's like, okay, 98.6, good.
More than 37,000 people affected worldwide. At least 812 people have died, mostly in mainland China. The death toll soaring beyond the SARS outbreak of 2002. The U.S. Embassy confirming the first death of an American, a 60-year-old living in Wuhan, ground zero for the epidemic. Officials scrambling this weekend to build makeshift hospitals. A cavernous convention center converted to a dorm for the thousands infected. Slogans reading, "Stay strong, Wuhan. Stay strong, China." Elsewhere in China, officials cracking down on those refusing to self-quarantine. Authorities in hazmat suits dragging these people from their home. Frank Wasinski and his 3-year-old daughter returned to America from China, forced to leave behind his infected wife and father-in-law.
She told me that the doctors had told her that her father has 1 or 2 more days before he passes.
Those images out of China just shocking. Maggie Rulli joins us now from Japan. And Maggie, as the virus continues to spread on that cruise ship just behind you, there's a growing concern tonight that this quarantine may be putting healthy people at risk on board?
Yeah, exactly, Tom. That couple we spoke with told us that they're refusing to go above deck with other people. They're not even letting anyone inside their room to come clean it. Now, Tom, today Princess Cruises did announce they're offering everyone on board a full refund. Tom.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And before we go, by the way, we want to pass along something cool. If anyone is in Manchester, New Hampshire downtown area by the Doubletree Hotel in Manchester, New Hampshire. Today, there are some events you can join with MSNBC News. Today, at 11 a.m., live with Chris Jennings. 1 p.m., live with Ari Milfer. 2 p.m., live with Katie Tur. 6 p.m., The Beat with Ari Milfer. And 7 p.m., Hardball with Chris Matthews. They'll be doing broadcasting at the Doubletree Hotel at the restaurant there. And you can join and be part of the studio audience at the restaurant as they're doing their show there. So if you're interested in being part of that, go on there. If you're in downtown Manchester, go on and check it out. And that's it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.